All right, I think my angle on this is going to gladden Keaton's heart. Keaton has always been very skeptical of culture war kinds of things, and I think this story is a prime example. I don't think you could find a better example of the way the culture war is used to obscure what people should actually be talking about. So we're going to talk a little bit about this Paramount Skydance merger. And it takes a lot of twists and turns. Okay, so we covered we're filthy whores. We're not above it. We covered the South Park episode about Trump's micro penis.
Hey, something's got to keep the lights on around here.
Yeah, seriously.
Guy's got to eat. I had a birthday party to pay for.
Yeah, he has. This guy has 3 kids and a wife.
Yeah.
You know, we got to do what we got to do. But now, but now we're going to get down to brass tacks on this. Okay, so I watched the episode. It was funny and it was lovely. And I'm not in any way disparaging Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They're great satirists. I think they're sincere. But let's look at this overall context. Okay, so of course the White House responded. I guess they decided this was the rare case where Trump responding to this would be beneath him. Not much that they would consider beneath him, but I guess they decided to just have a spokesperson address it. The left's hypocrisy truly has no end. For years, they have come after South Park for what they labeled as offense content, but suddenly they are praising the show. White House Assistant Press Secretary Taylor Rogers told Deadline this morning. Needless to say, that is a gross oversimplification of how the left, broadly defined, has reacted to South Park. Just like the creators of South Park, the left has no authentic or original content, which is why their popularity continues to hit record lows, Rogers added, in direct contrast to the $1.5 billion agreement Paramount and the South Park duo just inked this week. Yeah, failing South Park. No.
Yeah.
This
ice
show
cold.
This show hasn't been relevant for over 20 years and is hanging on by a thread with uninspired ideas in a desperate attempt for attention. President Trump has delivered on more promises in just 6 months than any other president in our country's history. And no fourth-rate show can derail President Trump's hot streak. Yeah, you see, man, they're used to going up against, trans swimmers and Stephen Colbert. You really can't pull that shit with South Park.
Right.
It remains incredibly popular. It remains a conversation starter. Yeah, like none of that fit. When you say the failing New York Times, it resonates. When you say the failing South Park, that doesn't land.
It's funny. This is the power of comedy. You can't deny good comedy because laughter is involuntary. If something makes you laugh, you can't help but laugh. Right? And that's what makes comedy a very powerful tool.
Well, who agrees with you on this? Jennings went on CNN and praised South Park by way of cursing Stephen Colbert.
Here is that if you're funny and you make money and people want to watch your show, you can do things. And if you're not funny and you're committed to partisan liberal hackery that's hemorrhaging viewers and is not profitable, then you can't do things. And just a few days ago, the left was convinced that Colbert was fired for political reasons. Obviously, this company is airing material that is not favorable to Donald Trump. It is objectively hilarious. I watch every episode of these guys and have for years. I think it's great. But
so you're cool with it?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
There you go.
Okie doke. All right. Now, just to point out, we covered the Colbert thing because we're whores. We covered it. And I do believe that they fired him as a kind of sacrificial lamb for the Skydance Paramount merger approval. However, I think they just timed it that way for that reason. I don't think that's why he got fired. I agree with the essence of what Jennings saying, that if he was making the money, they wouldn't have fired him. But I think they fired him at that time for political reasons. And in regards to whether South Park was in any way impacted by this deal, well, yeah, they delayed airing that episode until after the merger went through. It was supposed to premiere July 2nd, and Stone and Parker put out the statement, this merger is a shit show, and it's fucking up South Park. We are at the studio working on new episodes, and we hope the fans get to see them somehow. Apparently a little concerned that it wouldn't even air. Ultimately, obviously, they did air, but not until after that merger went through. Also, in regards to none of the programming decisions had anything to do with politics. Shari Redstone, this is May 1st, Shari Redstone, Paramount's controlling shareholder, urged CBS News to delay critical Trump stories and settle his $10 billion meritless lawsuit against 60 Minutes to secure FCC approval for the $8 billion Skydance merger, which promises her family a $1.75 billion payout. So, yeah, and they paid him off. Now, I know you'll get some people who say, but they did edit it to make her look better. You know what? To win a lawsuit on that, one, you would have to make the case that they don't have the right to edit that to make her look better. Like, on what grounds do you not have the First Amendment right to do that? And then even if you cleared that hurdle in a court, you would have to prove intent. You would have to prove that that was their intent in the way that they edited it. And intent is almost impossible to prove in a court. So that's what meritless means in a legal context. Doesn't mean they didn't try to make her look better. It means that lawsuit almost certainly would not have succeeded if they pursued it. But they were highly incentivized not to pursue it because they wanted this merger to close, and Shari Redstone wanted her money. Now, some people really celebrated. Paramount really gave Trey Parker and Matt Stone $1.5 billion this week, and they instantly torched the Paramount merger with Skydance. True Americans, a little team from World Police, a little meme from World Police, America, fuck yeah, right? And, the Star Trek geeks have a lot of hope here in this merger. DEI is dead at Paramount. Merger approved. Skydance vows to end bias in news and shows. For anyone who doesn't know, this is the much despised by nerds Michelle Burnham, I think is the name. Michael Burnham is the name of the character on Star Trek Discovery, which, yes, wound up kind of degenerating into the worst of woke excesses. And more, Kiva Goldman urges fans to write to Paramount and Skydance for next Star Trek project. So, they're really hoping they're going to de-woke Star Trek. Okay, so this is what I mean when I say all this culture stuff is really a distraction from what's really happening here. It reminds me of Mr. Burns saying to Homer Simpson, "Oh yes, you can have your pudding. You can have your..." Remember that episode? All right, you can have your Star Trek. Now I promise you, all these nerd channels that have kind of gone into this, anti-woke space, probably are not really looking at what's happening behind the scenes here. For example, the FCC chairman basically imposed a political litmus test on Skydance and on CBS in exchange for approving this merger. Americans no longer trust the legacy national news media to report fully, accurately, and fairly, Mr. Carr said in the statement. It is time for a change. That is why I welcome Skydance's commitment to make significant changes at the once storied CBS broadcast network. Okay, so that all sounds good, right? Like if you're anti-woke, and yeah, man, the news has become biased. We've talked about that for years. Nobody would argue otherwise. Obviously, it has a bias. So that would be great. So what's their idea of making the news neutral? Not that there are not issues with a governmental administration predicating approval of a merger on editorial changes at the network. It is problematic, but you can't say it's a solution in search of a problem. Yeah, this has been a problem at these networks. Whether regulatory bodies in the government should be able to address those things in this way, or you're supposed to just leave it to the marketplace, right? All these libertarians would say that's up to the marketplace. But okay. Under a potential deal, Barry Weiss would serve as an ideological guide of sorts at CBS News, according to Puck. Okay, so you're not actually getting rid of ideological bias. This is what we said from the beginning when we saw the kinds of moves that Trump was making. He's just going to install a bias that he likes. You're not going to have a restoration of some kind of Cronkite ideal of objective news coverage. You're going to get Trump news. So they've appointed a Zionist commissar in response to that. Yeah, it looks that way. Poet killer Barry Weiss would serve as a Zionist censor at CBS News. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. A little bit from Puck here. David Rhodes, the one-time CBS News head and current executive at Sky in the UK, is in talks to take over CBS News when the Skydance acquisition of Paramount closes, per 3 sources familiar with the negotiations. As with all of these things, talks could still fall apart. But if David Ellison and his Skydance team sign Rhodes and close a pending deal to acquire the Free Press, the center-right media brand founded by Barry Weiss, the plan would call for Rhodes to manage and operate CBS News day to day alongside Weiss as an ideological guide of sorts. Okay, so what is this? Is this restoring CBS to objective journalism, or is this making it a lunatic Zionist right-wing propaganda outlet? What is the effect of that? Having someone from right-wing Sky News with Barry Weiss as the kind of ombudsman deciding what content should be going on 60 Minutes. So now this is the part of this that is really being criminally underreported. So who's David Ellison? David Ellison is on the right there with his father, Larry Ellison. They say, who's in power by who you're not allowed to criticize. You could also say, who's in power by who they don't talk about.
Right, by who you never hear about.
Yeah, we talk all the time about Elon. Everybody talks about Bill Gates. Everybody talks about Jeff Bezos. Nobody talks about this motherfucker. This guy's the second richest man in the world. This guy owns a Hawaiian island. He owns a whole Hawaiian island he paid $300 million for back in 2011. You remember the big Project Stargate conference that Trump had very early in his administration, that big press conference people were all freaked out about? That's Larry Ellison. Remember Larry Ellison went on about how they're going to develop the mRNA vaccines? Last I heard, Trump's people don't like that kind of shit. Let's hear what he had to say.
We gene sequence, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again using AI, in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
Okay. Larry Ellison, also Trump's partner in Stargate, Larry Ellison, wanted to introduce a digital ID off the back of 9/11 as far back as 2001 and offered to give it to the Fed for free. This is the guy now in charge of the huge database structures backed by $500 billion and Trump. They're supposed to put $500 billion into this new AI system. That's Project Stargate. Let's see what kind of really terrifying views Larry Ellison has about surveillance. Spoiler alert, he likes the idea.
Will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable. The cars have cameras on them. I think we have a squad car here someplace. But those kind of applications using AI, if we can use AI, and we're using AI to monitor the video. So if that altercation that occurred in Memphis, the chief of police would be immediately notified. It's not people that are looking at those cameras, it's AI that's looking at the camera. No, you can't do this. It would be like a shooting. That's going to be immediately, that's going to be an event that's immediately, an alarm is going to go off, it's going to be, and we're going to have supervision. In other words, every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. And the supervision will, and if there's a problem, AI will report the problem and report it to the appropriate person, whether it's the sheriff or the chief or whomever we need to take control of the situation. We have, same thing. We have drones. If there's something going on in a shopping center, and I'll stop. A drone goes out there, get there way faster than a police car. There's no reason for, by the way, high-speed chases. You shouldn't have high-speed chases between cars. You just have a drone follow the car. I mean, it's very, very simple. And the new generation of autonomous drones.
Okay, all right. So this is the guy who just financed the Skydance Paramount merger and installed his son as the CEO. According to some reporting, he was going to go in as the CEO. I guess he's got other fish to fry. He decided to install his son as his puppet CEO. That's the guy, man. There's a guy who wants to develop more mRNA vaccines, and a guy who just described a dystopian surveillance state as an awesome thing where drones everyone's being recorded all the time, right? It's great. It's great because then nothing bad can happen because we're always watching. Drones, cameras, all the citizens will be recorded. Everything's recorded. AI is going to make decisions about how to respond. This is his ideal world. And you know what's terrifying? He's building it. He's getting $500 billion to build it. I thought this is what Trump's voters were against. This is why they want you talking about Colbert and South Park, man. Because they don't want you talking about this. They want you talking about if Paramount is going to make better Star Trek. They don't want you talking about that this guy just surpassed Mark Zuckerberg to become the world's second richest man. Isn't that funny that nobody talks about him? Nobody talks about this guy?
I don't hear much about this guy.
No. All right. So a little bit from this article from Slate. Larry Ellison just quietly became the most powerful man in America. This week has demonstrated that the tech broligarch who's most influenced President Donald Trump's second administration isn't Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, or Mark Andreessen. It's Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, the 80-year-old software tycoon who recently became the second richest man in the world. Skydance is owned by Ellison's son David, who personally met with both Trump and FCC Chair Brendan Carr to get the deal done. The elder Ellison is covering most of the cash to close the Skydance Paramount merger, which will give him significant control over the new company and a chance to carry out, as he detailed in federal filings, a wholesale transformation of CBS in his vision, including broadcasts of complimentary PSAs for Trump administration initiatives. Does that sound to you like a restoration of objective news? Old-time hockey, Walter Cronkite kind of news? When Carr announced the merger approval, he positively affirmed, quote, Skydance's commitment to make significant changes at the once storied CBS broadcast network, including the impending hire of an ombudsman who will monitor CBS News broadcast for bias. And as we just read, it looks like they're eyeing Barry Weiss for that role. As the overall company slashes its diversity, equity, and inclusion guidelines. Said Trump himself of his friend Larry Ellison, I think he's going to run CBS really well, and I think he's making a good deal to buy it. The day before the FCC approved Skydance Paramount, the president hosted a kickoff event at the White House for his AI action plan, a new federal framework for tech regulation or lack thereof. Much of the plan reads like a Christmas gift list for Larry Ellison and Oracle in particular, including overriding environmental protections to construct those Stargate-style AI data center campuses, prioritizing contracts with free speech-focused AI firms like Elon Musk's xAI, in which Ellison and Oracle are both invested, integrating AI infrastructure into the Pentagon, and centralizing the government's massive data sets, a special focus of Oracle's. Further, the Trump administration's plans for undermining China's AI ambitions also involve kowtowing to Ellison by using him to force some American control over TikTok. Trump's big scheme is really for Ellison to wind up buying TikTok on the American side. Ellison joined the Silicon Valley advisor army that descended upon Mar-a-Lago when Trump won re-election, then went on to cheer Musk's Doge rampage and proposed that all national data be put into a singular database that would feed an AI model, a vision that may be in reach thanks to the action plan, whose data concentration goals would build upon Doge's addition of AI to various government functions. Now, just 6 months into Trump's term, Ellison has procured for himself a sweeping empire, ruling over acres worth of AI infrastructure, gaining a mega-sized media arm for himself via Paramount Skydance, potentially winning another powerful media apparatus with TikTok, and seeing his own ideologies and goals reflected by a friendly White House. The Trump 2.0 era has been spectacular for, quote, one rich asshole called Larry Ellison, mostly because he's done so much to shape it. Yeah, man, that's the real story. That's the real story here. That Larry Ellison is really the linchpin of building the new world order that supposedly Trump was elected to put a stop to. Doesn't this sound like Klaus Schwab's acid trip? What's being described here? They're going to put $500 billion into AI, and now you've just put this guy in control of this massive media empire that he's going to use to overtly spread administration propaganda. That's supposed to be, this is why they need anti-woke. It's a cover for the real agenda, and it's the most effective way of getting the people most likely to fight against that agenda neutralized. Right? They're talking about we're going to get good Star Trek. Meanwhile, they're building a police surveillance state. What if Kamala Harris announced this plan? Oh my God, they'd be taking over state capitals. They'd be fighting the FBI. There'd be riots. There'd literally be riots. Nothing. You're not even hearing about this. I would wager most people don't know Larry Ellison is behind this merger.
Yeah, no, it is why they need the culture war. It's also why they need AI. The more you look into stories like this, the more you see the use of AI to these people, because it takes the human element out. right? The fewer human beings you have to deal with, the easier it is to just implement your vision, right?
Right.
And as wealth consolidates into fewer and fewer hands, there are fewer and fewer people who are going to be willing to implement your vision. The more and more people catch on to the fact that your vision is, paradise for you and hell for everyone else, right? So it's very hard to enlist the masses in that project past a certain point, right? With AI, you don't need to enlist the masses in that project, right? That's all automated. That's all done for you. And yeah, you'll have certain little glitches in the matrix there, like a Hasbar a Hal type moment or something like that. But generally, yeah, this is why automation is so necessary for people like Larry Ellison and like Elon for that matter, because past a certain point, you're not going to be able to enlist the masses in your cause anymore. And by the time you get to that point, guess what? You don't need masses. You don't need masses. You have robots. That's it.
Well, that's why I'm saying they're trying
and Barry
to kill
Weiss.
And Barry Weiss.
You have, yeah.
Well, that's why I keep saying, and I'm not exaggerating, they're trying to kill us. They realize they don't need as many people. And the greatest threat to their power would be a restive, unemployed population. So you cut down on the population size because you don't need the workers anymore. And then the AI allows you to get around the Achilles heel of all police states, the massive drain on resources it requires to have one. Right. You're not going to have that drain on resources because you don't need people for it.
Right.
It's all automated. None of the police states of the past were able to do that. Right. With this AI, you're able to do that. You don't have that issue that you need to enlist tens of thousands of people into the Cheka in order to make all this work. The AI is your Cheka.
Exactly.
Please clap.